Welcome, welcome, everybody. This is Coach D. I am here once again to chop it up with each and every one of you. For those that are new, this is the Coach D. Darrell Spears TV channel. This is a dating channel where we're talking about relationships, we're talking about love, we're talking about marriage, we're talking about everything that deals with relationships and dating in itself. So today we have a treat for you. We're going to bring back Miss Emmy. Miss Emmy is a person that lives in New York. We're going to go ahead and bring her back. She's here. Hey, Miss Emmy, how you doing?
Hi, Coach D. Durrell. How are
Good,
you?
good. So this is our second rodeo, and we're going to kind of go more into detail about the sex work industry. We're going to talk more about the dungeons or the House of Dominatrix or the domination, you may say. And so, guys, we're going to definitely kind of go into it. Now, I just want to, just to let everybody know, disclaimer. Um, Miss Emmy asked me in respect, like, how far do you want me to go? I'm allowing her to go as far as she wants. I said that, hey, our sector has a very diverse type of people. There are people that are actually have been involved in this type of work before, and she is open to talk about things at liberty. She's at liberty to talk about it in whatever ways that she sees fit. And hey, if you feel like this is offensive, hey, that's on you. We're all adults. I'm just giving a disclaimer out. I'm giving her the freedom to do so because that I think, hey, we can handle it. We're grown up. We're grown folks. So, Miss Emmy, if you can reintroduce yourself, and then we'll get it cranking.
Hi. I'm doing great on this lovely Saturday. My name is Emmy, like the TV awards. I've been working in the sex industry for about 10 years. I've done everything from foot worship to domination. In between, I've done exotic dancing, I've done sensual massages. And as far as today, I still do these services, provide these services on a discretionary basis. So not as often, but I still provide it.
Okay. Okay. So it's pretty much at your leisure, particularly when you feel like it's appropriate for you. That
Yeah.
is not necessarily like it's kind of more of a relaxed um, schedule, I would say.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Definitely. Okay. Good. Cool. Well, we're gonna get right into it now. I want you to kind of talk about now. Well, the last time you kind of did speak about as far as your clientele and meeting guys and things of that sort, and how you got into the industry and so forth. I want to kind of focus a little bit more on the houses of domination or the dungeons, things of that sort. We kind of talked about that at the tail end of the last interview. So I'd like you to kind of talk to me as far as how did you discover some of the houses of domination and things of that. So how did you get into that aspect of the industry?
Well, I was working at the Foot Worship Palace in Manhattan. I don't think it's there anymore. But a lot of the clients were asking to worship my feet, and they were
Okay.
asking to kneel before me. And they were also asking for verbal abuse. And they were asking me to kind of like shove their face with my foot while I verbally abuse them. So some of them would ask me to spit, but I don't do that. I just don't. Some girls would do it easily, but I could never do that. And then I realized that maybe I might be interested in kink. So
Okay.
I believe, and I may be wrong, but I believe that I found them on Craigslist. Was a House
Okay.
of Domination in the Tribeca Chinatown border. For those of you who are not familiar, Tribeca in New York City is very posh and upscale, and then Chinatown in New York City is very populated and uh, not so nice. But they have a lot of fresh vegetables. Anyway, so this is where the House of Domination was located,
All right.
and I got an interview with one of the co-owners, and he took me into the intake room, because when I went in, there were one, two, three, four rooms specified for sessions. One room was an intake room, and then later on, when I got hired, there's another larger room that served as the locker room for the girls. That's also where the computers were, and things like that. And we would build up our image online on these computers while we waited for our sessions.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it sounded like it was pretty easy.
Pretty easy uh, to get in, or to maintain.
Yeah, to get in. It sounded like it was pretty easy to get in the industry itself as far as
For a woman or for a client. Yes, I would say that as long as a woman is interested in doing it, she could do it on an independent basis, but it's safer to do it in House of Domination, because there are other people there and the client knows that, so they're less likely to try something with you. So I would say that yes, for me it was fairly easy. The co-owner saw that I could maintain sessions, and that I was interested in actually working, actually understanding the psychology of domination, because domination involves boundaries. So
hmm
what he was looking for during the interview was that I was sane, that I wasn't
Okay.
just going to go into a room and pick up a flogger, or some other type of instrument, a paddle, and just start wailing on someone. So that's not
Okay.
domination. A lot of people think that's domination. So I think that the first thing that he was looking for was, is this person sane enough? Will this person treat the clients humanely? Is this person going to continue our good name? So he was looking for all of those things. So as long as the woman is genuinely interested and is of sane mind, then yes, it is easy to get into.
So basically, you were vetted and interviewed.
Yes, I was vetted during the interview, and when he realized that I would be a good fit, then I was given a tour of the House of Domination. I was told that we were going to have classes so that we could keep everything safe and we learned how to respect boundaries. Because whenever the clients came in, they would go into the intake room, and they would come in and they would say who it was that they wanted to see. And for example, if they wanted to see me, then another girl would go out, which was actually one of the mistresses. So we would either be girls or mistresses. If the person was not there to see us, then we would be the girl that would go out and do the and hand out the forms for the intake. But if it was us that was doing the session, then it would be another mistress who was now posing as a girl, and then she would go out and hand out the intake forms. And on that form,
Oh wow.
the client could, there were check boxes, and whatever he wanted during the session, he would check off. Whatever was a soft limit, meaning you could try this, but please don't do it too much. For example, let's try paddling, right? That's a soft limit. Hard limit is when, don't do this at all. If you do this, I will walk out of the session.
Oh wow. So it sounds like to me, as I'm hearing this, people would think that this is somewhat an informal thing, but it seems very formal
It
and
has,
specific.
yes, it has to be, because uh, the the people that I worked for, there it was two co-owners. They took their kink very seriously. This was pretty much their world, and they knew how to make it into a business, and they wanted just to go by the book on a lot of things. And since there was an online community called Max Fish, which we were constantly on the computer, on Max Fish, fishing for clients, and actually, it was a whole BDSM community. And if a client had a bad experience, he could go onto that BDSM community and let other people know. So we had to make sure that we maintained a solid reputation.
Great, great, great. Now, you did mention, I guess, through the dating process. I mean, I'm sorry, through the vetting process that that a lot of the people in that industry, they kind of network, they know each other, they're on the same online spaces per se.
Yes.
Yeah, and you mentioned was it Max something or what, that you just stated the
Max Fish is spelled Max and then FISH, or it's FISCH, something like that. I haven't been on there in a while, but it's
okay.
one of those. And you know, if anything happened, it just got around like wildfire. If anything even happened online, clients would come in and see me and say, oh, so my name was Goddess Carmen. Oh, Goddess Carmen, I heard this
Okay.
and this and that about you online, and how do you feel about things? And it was just it was almost like an icebreaker, because your online presence would help potential clients get to know your personality a little better and decide whether or not they wanted a session with you.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, I want to kind of dive into the kink list per se.
Okay.
So that has to be understood before you do anything, right?
Yes, that list is brought out to every potential client even before the session begins. That is correct.
Okay. Um, is it understood in these um in the House of Domination the issues as far as sex is that is a situation where people are not rule is not supposed to have sexual intercourse, or is that up to the you as the worker, or what is every house different with that? Like, is there some type of rules with that? Like, how does that go with that?
Yes, every house is different with that, because sometimes we wouldn't hire girls that came from other houses because they were used to providing additional services besides the domination. So those girls, sometimes they would not be hired specifically because we knew which house of domination they were coming from. Uh,
Okay.
but but ironically speaking, since we were the DOMs, we were the technically the aggressor.
Okay.
The clients would give us permission to perform strap on. So, so for strap on sessions, we would give them an enema. It would be either lube. If they wanted a water enema, then they had to bring it themselves, but we did lube enemas. And then, so the first 10 minutes of the session was basically waiting for the client to, you know, excrete, and then
Right.
we were ready for strap on, because everything in there was clear. So then he picked his size, and then we all had to have our own like harnesses. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Hey, I'm just listening to as you go into detail with this. I'm just trying to picture you as a woman, like strapping this. I'm just listening. This is something. This is your job, but I'm just looking at you in the mindset of a woman going through this process to do this. And I'm just trying to imagine that. Okay, so what I want to establish is the fact that having sex in a dungeon is not out of the ordinary.
It's not out of the ordinary. It is. Um, it's not out of the ordinary, but it's the reverse. It's the
What do you
reverse.
mean, like what out of the ordinary versus extra?
It's
I'm
the
trying to get what do you mean by that? Expound on that.
so sex, we we did not, we gave, the doms would give, we would not receive.
You would give but not receive.
Not receive. So it was sexual relations in terms of the dom having a strap on, but
Okay.
it wasn't sexual relations in traditional terms.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So,
So,
so for
so you
example,
never.
if anybody during the session um, asked, if they could go down on me, or if they could touch me, or it was always a no, or if they could have intercourse, it was always a no. And if the person persisted, then we would leave the room and we would get one of the owners, and then they would be escorted outside of the premises. So
Okay.
it was only sex as far as the doms with strap on.
Okay. So what you're telling me is that at the particular place that you're working, a,
Yes.
a dom was not having traditional, or let's say, penetration, where
Yes,
you
that
were
is,
being
yes.
penetrated by a guy.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. If we were doing that, we would have actually made more in income. Like the income was okay. Like the
Okay.
sessions were like my brown. So I was a brown shower dom. My brown shower sessions were 350, but then I had to give. They actually took a good cut from our pay, so I had to give 60% of that to the house.
What?
Yes, I
That's
know.
pimping. Come, wait a
I
minute.
know. I
Emmy, that's
know.
pimping.
I know. It was like a penalty for working in like the best house that there was in Manhattan at the time. And it was
so,
just
so,
like, so
so
we
let me.
always, hmm
I want to establish something, because the information you're giving, I'm also comparing it to information that the sector that I'm from talked about in regards to the economics of this. So is
hmm
that consistent that every house, the owners would take a percentage of certain things like this, upwards of 60%? Or I know it may vary per house, but is it like consistent that,
sixty
that's like part
percent
of this?
60% is the highest. And
Okay.
then the other houses would take lower. We were, because they insisted on training, and because they insisted on separate rooms that were specialized, and they were always keeping up with the latest equipment, and we were always a strong presence on Max Fish. We were considered the best house of domination. The co-owners knew that, so they would penalize us for working in the best house. They would charge us really heavily for working in the best house of domination in Manhattan at that time, because we were so professional, and we were nobody had gotten injured, and nobody was complaining about anything that was happening in our house of domination. So we it was almost like an upcharge. It was almost
Okay.
like, okay, you guys are working at the best house of domination right now in New York City, so we're going to add a 10% fee. The other houses of domination, when I spoke to the other girls, it would be around 50%. I think sometimes it was flipped. Sometimes the house would get 40 and then the dom would get 60. But the thing is that I was never comfortable with the other houses, because I knew that they were not as professional as the house where I was working.
Okay. So I'm just looking at this, and I'm just trying to um, just
It
looking at
was
the picture.
actual domination. It was actual mind fucking. Like
Right.
if the guy wanted me to, and this is where another reason why I was so good at verbal abuse is because a lot of the guys were submissive. A lot of the guys that I would accept for my sessions. And so sometimes they would ask, mistress, is it okay if you put a hand on me? And then, I would tell them to get on their knees, and they would have to do it themselves. Everything that was happening sexually, anything dealing with their penis, they had to take care of it. They had to take care of it. So it was perfect for verbal abuse. So sometimes I would just be, I would ask them to bring me like a nice bottle of champagne, and then I would be drinking that while he was jerking himself off and looking at me drinking champagne. These are true domination sessions.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So for the most part, um, as a dom,
Yes.
um, you never doms pretty much don't don't agree to having sexual intercourse.
That was for me and for all the ladies working in that House of Domination. For
Okay,
the
but
independent,
other houses could be different. It could be different.
other houses could be different, and other individual DOMs can also be different. So for me, for my domination sessions, I have been trained, and I actually prefer the training because it's a real mind fuck. I mean, you really truly flip the tables over for that 1 or 2 hours that you've been hired, and the client kind of just comes out of the the session all tripped out, like, there's a different mental space that gets accessed with,
Okay,
breaking the tradition, breaking the mold, for these 1 or 2 hours.
right.
And it just creates this strange natural high. And
Wow.
I would see all the DOMs had it. All the DOMs would get it right after their session. We would be extra adrenaline,
Elevated.
a lot of adrenaline through our
Okay.
system. Hmm.
Could you hold 1 second? Give me 1 second,
Sure,
okay?
sure.
We're so as we continue, we are talking about the business of it, the whole process, and you kind of talking about the things that you agree to do, and I'm kind of want to focus on the kink list per se. Now, when you went into your kink list,
Okay.
what oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. We have like 10 minutes.
Huh?
I said we have like 10 minutes, right?
Right, right. Like, what did you go into that? Like, when you went into your kink list, um, like, what was the process of that? Just describing what you wanted to do or not do.
Mine's personally or for clients?
I'm thinking, but the kink list is what you're willing to do, right? Or like, I mean, just kind of like that's
The
my
kink list is general.
okay,
So in general, they could have like something as light as spanking, or candle play, or nipple play, and then it goes into like CBT, which is cock and ball torture, which is basically like hanging weights off the testicles, or like the penis, or like um, tying up the penis and then whipping it with a cane. Like it goes into that whole pain is pleasure type of mentality. There was a lot of bondage, which is one of my personal favorites. So we had Midori in, which she's an expert at Japanese bondage. And there's a lot of Japanese bondage events, nighttime events going on in New York City, which I absolutely adore attending, because there's the live model, and the person on stage will do this elaborate bondage, basically position on her, so she has to be extremely flexible, and then she stays there and holds it for at least 20 minutes, and it's
oh
absolutely
wow,
remarkable. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And once you come out of that entrapment, out of that restriction, it just kind of releases a lot of energy, sexual energy, energy in general. And it's kind of this cathartic, euphoric experience.
right, right,
It's one of my personal favorites. I also enjoy flogging, which is basically that instrument that has a lot of kind of leather strips coming out of
okay,
it. So I really enjoyed that. Some people like caning at the bottom of their feet. Some people like, of course, the showers, the golden shower. Then there's the brown shower. Do some
right.
people eat it? They leave that up to my discretion, whether or not I ask them to eat it or not. Usually I ask them just to take a bite.
Oh wow! This is- wow!
And so yeah,
wow!
because
This is
it's a domination session. If I listen, let me
yeah.
tell you something about these guys. If you're not dominant enough, they will not see you. They will go to the next. They will go to the next person. They will go to the
They
next
want you to
woman.
treat them like shit, basically.
Exactly. And
Wow!
and that's how I got my regular customers. Actually, was being by being a cold bitch, and like
So
they
it got to be in you. It got
there
to be
was
in you to do
it
it.
has to be inside of you. Yeah, even the one of the co-owners actually said, you know what, we think that you would have been perfect when we started this domination, this House of Domination, because your character is extremely strong. But now we're looking for girls. After about 6 months of working there, I started butting heads with the co-owners, and
Right.
they were like, we've enjoyed working with you, but your personality is actually dominant. So we're starting, we're disagreeing on a lot of things, and we find you to have a combative personality.
Right.
So what we're looking 6 months later, what they were more looking for were just girls that they could condition into,
Doing what they want
don't
them
do
to do, per
this,
se.
do this. Yeah, look cute while you're doing it, wear a little short skirt while you're doing it.
Right.
Whereas Doms, we would go in with, like a full outfit that said, I look great, but you can't touch, things like
Right.
that. And
Right.
so I think it's because they wanted more money coming in, because we were so like specialized in our services. I think they wanted to kind of like blur the lines a little bit.
So, guys, I decided at this point to stop the video because I didn't want to go too much into detail. And we decided to save the other information for our live stream. We will be going live stream in which she will talk in detail, in depth about more of the process, the services, the activities that go on, and how a House of Dominatrix or dungeon operates. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. Have a great day.